Ladies and gentlemen, will you please rise? Join Councilman John Wood in the pledge to our flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Will you pray with me? Our Father, we come to you so blessed tonight, and because of our community and our state. I just ask that you be with each one of these council members. Grant them wisdom, and as they listen and make decisions for what's best for our community, we just ask your blessing upon that. We thank you for this month, Father, where we celebrate Mother's Day, and we just want to thank you for the women that have been a big part of each one of our lives, that nurtured and cared for us. And we just want to ask a blessing upon this coming Sunday, that they would enjoy their Mother's Day celebration, and we just pray that you just bless them as well. We pray for the end of school, and that our students that are graduating and moving on to college, we just ask that you bless the ceremonies and all of the things that they're involved here in the last few weeks of school. And we just ask that you bless their lives too, and guide and direct in using their talents and becoming citizens of different communities and bettering our world in which we live. So we just thank you, Father, for tonight and for the blessings that you've given us. And we pray this all in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Pastor. Now call to order our May 3rd Guthrie Public Works Authority meeting. The second item on the agenda are some proclamations that I have the opportunity to read. I'll do these in order of the calendar dates in which they pertain to. The first proclamation is concerning National Nurses Week. The proclamation reads, whereas nurse practitioners, registered nurses, licensed practical nurses, and medical assistants in Logan County area are vital to meeting the healthcare needs of our community, and whereas nurses are trusted healthcare professionals and committed to preserving and protecting our health system, and whereas nurses endeavor to meet the diverse needs of all citizens with skill, knowledge, compassion, and empathy, and whereas nurses advocate on behalf of our citizens and patients for an environment that promotes safe care, dignity, and respect, and whereas nurses give selflessly of themselves, often dismissing praise and thanks. Now, therefore, I, Stephen J. Gentling, Mayor of the City of Guthrie, do hereby proclaim May 6th through the 12th, 2016, as National Nurses Week, and encourage everyone to recognize the many services provided by our dedicated nurses and their tremendous contribution to the health of our citizens and the well-being of our community. Kim, I think you're going to be accepting this. Photo opportunity. This is my better side.
Okay.
For national, a long way for that. Kim Hoisington. Kim is the nurse director in the ER. Is that correct? And how long have you worked here at Mercy Logan County?
16 years.
16 years. Well, nurses, of course, I think are the linkage between what is now significant technology in healthcare and the personal touch. It's probably the most healing part of medicine, and I think nurses are the main component of that conduit. So, congratulations being a nurse. Congratulations to all the nurses at our hospital. If you know a nurse, a neighbor, just say thanks. Tell them thanks. That'd be a good thing the next one also is in the health arena, which is National Hospital Week. The proclamation reads, whereas National Hospital Week is May 8th through the 14th, 2016, and the official theme is Healthcare from the Heart. And whereas individuals all across the country will be celebrating this time-honored event, and whereas the hardworking people that compose our hospitals deserve universal regard and appreciation for keeping our community healthy, therefore, be it known that I, Stephen J. Gentling, Mayor of the City of Guthrie, do hereby declare May 8th through the 14th, 2016 to be National Hospital Week in Guthrie, Oklahoma, and urge residents to express their appreciation for the people, facilities, technology that makes trustworthy, reliable healthcare possible in our community to our citizens. Robin? I'll try this side. It doesn't help. Mike says it doesn't make any difference. Good. And Robin, you are the executive nurse director, right? Director of nursing. Director of nursing. Okay. And how long have you worked at Mercy Logan? Started when you were 12 and
Actually, pretty close. Candy striper. Yeah, kind of went on that.
well, I don't know
I'm just like,
how many of our council members recognize what a, well, I know you all recognize what a gem that we have in the hospital here, but Mercy Logan County is one of the, I think about 1,400 critical access hospitals around the country. And there are a number of standards that, measures that each of those critical access hospitals are checked on through Medicare. And I don't know, I think there are probably about 18 or so, but the last report that I had was that in 9 of those categories, Mercy Logan County was in the 90th percentile, the top 10% of those 1,400 critical access hospitals throughout the county, or throughout the country. And that's a tribute to all the staff, but especially on this week, the nursing staff. But anyway, we've got a gem there for sure. Thank you all of you that are involved with it.
Thank you all.
The last proclamation is a proclamation for Kids to Parks Day. And the proclamation reads, whereas May 21st, 2016 is the 6th Kids to Park Day organized and launched by the National Park Trust, and whereas Kids to Parks Day empowers kids and encourages family to get outdoors and visit America's parks, and whereas it is important to introduce a new generation of our nation's parks because of the decline in park attendance over the last decades, and whereas we should encourage children to lead a more active lifestyle to combat the issues of childhood obesity, diabetes, hypertension, and cholesterol, and whereas Kids to Parks Day is open to all children and adults across the country to encourage a large and diverse group of participants, and whereas Kids to Parks Day will broaden children's appreciation for nature and outdoors. Now therefore, I, Stephen J. Gentling, Mayor of the City of Guthrie, do hereby proclaim to participate in Kids to Parks Day and urge residents of the City of Guthrie to make time on May 21st to take the children in their lives to a neighborhood, state, or national park. Who's accepting this? Are you? All right. All right. On behalf of the Parks Board.
Well, plus you get charged.
Next.
Yeah, even on insurance cover.
yeah, shouldn't be paying for the ones I don't get.
You gonna get this? Okay.
No, he's done with you.
You just come waddling in.
Thank you, Mayor, on behalf of the board.
Yes,
Parks Board.
I knew he
I've
had
got
surgery.
two boards, but they're both in.
I will make sure that the Parks Board gets this, and we will frame it, I'm sure, and this is really good. Thank you.
Okay, item number 3 on the agenda is the consent agenda, items A and B. A is the approval of the minutes of April 19th. B is approval of a permit for the construction of an 8-inch sewer line. I will entertain a motion in a second for the consent agenda.
Second.
Is there any other discussion? Submit your vote, please. Let's see the votes. Unanimous to approve the consent agenda items A through B. Item number 4, discussion and possible action to approve the purchase of a 1-ton 4-wheel drive crew cab for the line maintenance department. Staff?
The current line maintenance truck is dead, and we needed to have it replaced. We don't have any money in our capital improvement, so we found some additional funds in our CMOM, considered to be equipment, so we'll be purchasing the truck out of that CMOM fund. We've checked with our auditors, and they believe that that is an item that will fit underneath those funding mechanisms. So any questions about the actual truck in and of itself, you can ask Maxine.
Yeah, is that an AC delete truck is what I read on that? Surely not in this kind of climate.
What is an AC delete truck?
That's what it looks like.
No
I was
AC.
reading the
You're not,
breakdown of
you're
it.
not putting any air conditioning in it.
Yeah, no air conditioning in it?
It's just an old,
No, I'm talking
No,
about our
new
new
one.
truck.
Oh,
the new
one.
truck?
No, I think air conditioning comes standard and everything.
Yeah, it
That's what you'd
comes,
think, but it showed that it was, I thought I could have sworn it showed.
I
it was
read that
deleted.
too. It looked like
You know,
delete.
don't-
the
it
Would we
is
get it?
added. I think they add that to it. You just get,
Okay.
on the state contract, you get the base price, and then they add everything to it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, how you gonna go with no AC? But
No,
Hopefully they won't be in the truck that long, they'll actually be out working, so
right.
I'm not worried about that.
Maybe they just drive it in the wintertime.
All right, no AC.
Okay?
Anyway, that truck is, the old truck is pretty well had its day.
Okay. Even the nurses couldn't revive it.
No, no,
Very good.
thank you.
I'll entertain a motion then to accept the
So moved.
purchase.
Second.
Any other discussion? Submit your vote. See the votes? Unanimous to go ahead and approve the purchase of a new 1-ton 4-wheel drive crew cab pickup. Item number 5, discussion, possible action, approving resolution number 2016-03, establishing a master fee resolution for utility rates and fees.
I'm gonna
I make a motion-
move We table that
Thank you, because I was getting ready to do it too.
till we can have more discussion, maybe at a
Yes,
workshop.
put a workshop.
I'll be more than happy to give you guys the information, have you guys discuss tonight.
And I'd like, from a legal point of view, I wish you would discuss it tonight and consider taking action. This is what we've been trying to do to make sure we've got a distinction between city matters and public works matters as relates to litigation that we've been involved in for years. Obviously, we'll do as you see fit, but I think we need to split these out.
Well, if staff have got the information, let's just start there and see if that's sufficient information, and
Well,
see what happens.
I've got a question. It seems like there's, and talking to Randall, it seems like there's two things going on here. One is some of the fees are gonna change, but part of it's to pull some of the water stuff out of the, city side and put it in the public works side only, right?
It's to pull all public works functions out of the master ordinance and put them into a master resolution under GPW.
It just seems like there's two different things there, and I think that's what's confusing.
Well, there's a master fee ordinance that,
Right.
because there are building fees, inspection fees, other things, there are city functions, don't have anything to do with GPWA. There are water fees, sewer fees, rates that are purely public works functions, don't really have anything to do with city council per se, general government. And those are being pulled out and put strictly into the public works side. That's one thing it does, and Bruce will have to address any rate.
Can we actually approve this and have a discussion of it
and refine it later? Is that possible?
Sure.
If we don't like what,
This is always,
There's a lot
I mean,
of
you've all, the original master fee ordinance has been amended, how many times, Kim? 5, 6, 7 times? So you can amend this next meeting if you saw fit to do.
I think we need to discuss it in more detail than just.
I think we need to discuss it in a lot more detail.
But for.
I'll be more than happy to start that discussion if you guys so
Well, let's-
desire.
For your purposes of litigation, I would think we might want to go ahead and.
Let's continue on with our discussion.
All right, there's going to be two questions that you guys have. One is what are we compared to other cities? As a city manager for the last 17 years, that you're never comparing apples to apples. If you compare yourselves to other cities, whether they're in your region or within the same size of people or citizens, that still doesn't mean that you guys are looking at enterprise funds that are of equal value. Probably for these main reasons. One is you don't know where a community actually derives its water from, whether it's surface water or if it's water that's underneath the ground. If it is surface water, how far are they pulling it from? What type of treatment processes they had? When they started their treatment processes? Again, so you can't necessarily compare apples to apples in that way. Secondly, and this is probably even more important, is that it depends on the number of utilities that each one of the cities has underneath their authority. Mainly, if you take the example of Edmond, they also have a electric utility that may be supplementing for their water and sewer rates. I know when I was a city manager at Grove for 7 years, on average of $1,500,000 every year went to supplement water and sewer rates out of our natural gas rates. So unless you get in and actually look at the other funds from other communities in depth to see what exactly they're doing there, how are they doing it, you can't necessarily do benchmarking efforts in that way. We do have some information come from an OML regarding utility rates across all the cities in the state. Even if we take that into consideration, again, unless you do some in-depth analysis, you're not really getting a true apples-to-apples comparison. The second question is that why are we doing, or we're looking at the rate increases that we're looking at? So I boiled it down as simply as I could and put it on this page in front of you guys, sewer increase estimated revenues. Over the next 3 years, we based those rate increases incrementally over a 3-year process. Then on the 4th year, it'll be increased based upon CPI for each subsequent year after that. Why the $500,000 mark? I put that right underneath it in the expenditures. Currently, right now, you guys have CMOM projects that are necessary in order to improve the sewer collection system. You guys originally began this project, I believe, in 2004, did about a $3.6 million project where you guys went out and replaced 40,000 some odd feet of line, and you guys also rehabbed like 169 manholes. Since that point in time, you guys have had an agreement to continue to improve those lines at a cost of about $500,000 a year, but they'll increase each and every year based upon just the natural cost of doing business, increase of the cost of construction each year going up. So those first ones that I have on here is the CMOM projects that we're currently not doing and need to be doing. The low estimate is $550,000 a year. The high estimate is about $800,000 a year on average over the next 17 years. The next one is the CMOM. Go ahead.
So the high estimate, we're talking about the estimate of construction itself, the cost of materials, that kinds of thing?
Yeah, and you guys will see that on the next.
Ranges from 550 to 800,000.
Correct. And actually, if you guys look on the 4th page in, on what you guys have had in your infrastructure analysis through Myers Engineering, you guys will actually see on that table 11 the inflation-adjusted annual cost to replace the sewer lines. And it goes everywhere from 2013 all the way to 2032.
It's page 18, but it's about the 5th page. Yeah, that's it.
So anyway, that's right there is the schedule that needs to be met in order to continue to replace all the failing and poor sewer lines in this community.
I got a question on that.
Yes.
I know that, so we spent, the CMOM fee covers, I think a few $1 million, wasn't it, several years ago, to do some major stuff that we had to do because we were getting fined by DEQ. So my question is, if we don't keep up with this, is there going to be a point where we're going to potentially be in that situation again where we're going to get fined? Because we were fined. It was a small one, but they said if you don't keep doing this, you're going to have bigger and bigger fines. So at what point will we be fined if we don't do this?
And that's, at some point in time, you guys will again, and that's the overall writing factor and the point that I want to make to you guys. If you guys don't do it now, you're kicking the can down the road, and someone else is going to be paying for it in the future. It might be a decade from now, it might be 5 years from now, it might be 15 years from now, but you guys have been handed a community that hasn't replaced water or sewer lines for 100 years. So in order to start going and replacing those lines so people don't have dirty water in their downtown, and we have to have filters at our fire station just so they can have clean water, and also a proper collection system to get it to our new wastewater treatment plant. Those are the things that we need to be doing. Those are the things that you guys have already committed to, and those are the things that you guys should be budgeting for as we go forward.
Well, I know when I started council in '09, and then in 10, I remember sitting in Public Works with Maxine, and we really talked about it because I know the city had to spend several years in mapping our lines just to figure out where our lines were, because we didn't know where the lines were. And then we had to grade them from, like 1 to 5 or something like that, from acceptable lines to bad lines, because we had something like 70 SSOs a year, which is basically where you have lines break and you have sewage in people's backyards and in their basements a year, that's another cost that we have to incur. But what I remember is after we passed this, after we actually replaced the lines, I was told, and I think it was Matt Mueller who said, watch out, because you're going to be forced to do this again if the EPA comes down and they've decided that you still have not done this, because we thought we were going to do a second phase. I thought we were going to do a second phase, and that seemed to get dropped. I don't know what happened there, but like later on, we're going to have to do this again, in which this reflects that we're going to have to continue to do this because those lines are pretty bad.
The city of Guthrie has done an excellent job of making decisions only after an emergency exists. What we're asking for as a staff is to set the rates in order to give us a chance to get ahead of issues instead of constantly just reacting to the issues on a basis because it's built up over time. So
That's correct.
so.
That's correct.
Yeah.
So, personally, I'm in big time agreement that we need to replace our sewer and water lines throughout the entire community. I ran my campaign on that, actually, but not on the back of the citizens' water bill. I didn't, okay? I didn't.
Well, then
I ran it on a tax that would pay for unsexy infrastructure, okay? That we just got a 3/4 cent tax passed, and look what the two items are going for right out of the hole. $2 million pool, and basically 800 grand to Myers Engineering to engineer the waste treatment plant. Okay? And so I'm all about replacing the lines. But I'm just not all about continually jacking the rates until, and this is the reason I wanted to table it. I don't have a problem moving the rate and fee over to the GPWA, okay, tonight. I don't have a problem with that. Okay, what I have a problem with is I don't think we've done enough research. I don't think we have enough knowledge as a council to sit here and say, okay, here's what we have to increase to. Here's where we're at. Here's what we got to increase to. For example, Bruce, you and I had a conversation. We're doing somewhere around $5 million right now on water rates, right? Annual.
Neighborhood, yes, I think.
Okay, where's that go?
$6.5 million total through all of our operations. Let me get back to something that's very basic. You guys approved in item number 4 the purchase of a pickup truck out of CMOM funds. You know why you purchased out of CMOM funds?
Because there's nowhere else to get it from.
Because you can't afford a truck.
Exactly.
Right.
Public Works Authority can't afford a pickup truck.
Exactly.
That's all part of this also, is
Exactly.
that we're trying to get it to the point where we can actually go forward. And as I go through, I'll explain each one of these areas, why they total up the way that they total up, and where we're still well short, even with the increases that are proposed. And to the point of us keep jacking up the rates, you guys haven't jacked up rates in 10 years. These things haven't been touched in a decade. And I'll show you guys on another sheet forward, if you guys would have incrementally increased those over the last 10 years, you'd be at the same place that you are right now is what we're
The
proposing.
Rates and fees have increased way.
Water
within
fees,
the
not
exactly.
sewer.
I'm talking water. not
Well, I'm talking sewer starting off, so
I
I'll get to
understand.
water.
I understand.
Well,
I'll get to water here in a second.
and let me know, I mean, on the CMOM, we're gonna have to raise the CMOM fee. If we don't do something else, we'd have to maybe raise a fee or add a fee. Money has to be found somewhere. It's not, it doesn't grow in trees.
Money should be found in selling water. I understand that we can't sell the water because we've got an issue going with rural water.
And let me clarify, we just passed this bond issue. Well, this stuff's not allocated. CMOM's not allocated in those line items, so we can't just go pull, just because, well, we got some money, let's pull money from this, even though it's not allocated. We can't do that. We said we're gonna do certain things, and we gotta do those certain things. We can't just go, well, we need money, well, let's just pull it because we have some extra money. That's not how you do accounting. I mean, so we have to find a way to, and regardless if it's this or not, we have to do this at some point, because otherwise we're neglecting our infrastructure. And I think that to say that it comes from the bond issue or other ways, water rates is one way we do that. One way we pull money to pay for water infrastructure is water rates or CMOM fees and whatnot. So, I mean, we have to do something. And
you're absolutely right. And another thing, and I'm just going to throw it out there, we all know we have to do something, John.
Mm-hmm.
It has to be maintained, period.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? But we're going to be, what you're asking us to do here, and is you're asking us to have a vote to increase these rates and the fees, okay? And 3 of the people on here, myself being one of them, has no skin in that game whatsoever as far as how those rates or fees are going to affect us personally.
your wastewater, do you get
I get none of
wastewater,
it.
right? You don't get wastewater
None.
at all?
Zero.
Rural water.
Okay?
Okay.
And
Well,
neither
rural-
does Steve and neither does Jeff. So 3 of the council members that are going to be making this, what I call a critical vote, okay, based on not enough information, okay, have zero skin in the game. None.
Then I would think you'd be less concerned.
Well, I'm concerned for the people that voted me in, John.
Well, I get that, but my point is that there's a lot of people who have skin in the game, because we're gonna have to be the ones dealing with it.
Exactly.
Well, I think we all have skin in the game, whether it's direct or indirect. We all
Right.
have
Well,
skin.
yeah.
I'm talking
Yeah.
about,
We all
the rate
have,
and fees
we're
affecting-
all engaged in this, we're all invested in this. I think the issue is not that we need to have this done, because I think universally we agree that we have got to do something with our sewer system lines and our water lines. We have got to do that. We cannot afford to kick the can down the road any longer. The question is, how are we gonna pay for it?
Exactly.
Well, and,
Something real quick. Water revenue is around 2.5 million, and $1 million of it goes to water treatment plant to make that payment.
well, and you realize, talking to the wastewater treatment plant, so you guys can tell me if I'm wrong. I was told Perry and Guthrie have the worst water treatment plant in the state. We don't have I mean, it's not worse like bad, it's old. That's the point.
Which way?
Wastewater.
Not
I'm
water
thinking I
treatment.
just,
Wastewater.
sorry,
Wastewater.
wastewater, okay.
Yeah.
We have, Perry and Guthrie have the worst, the oldest wastewater treatment plants in the state. We have to deal with that issue. But wastewater treatment is not by itself. Wastewater treatment has one plant. It's these lines as well. I mean, that wastewater treatment plant can't work well if these lines are all messed up. So it's all related, and we have to deal with that
I
issue.
think we all agree with that, John.
Good.
How are we gonna
I don't know if we
how
all
are we gonna
agree
fund
with
it?
that necessarily, but yes.
But we're going to fund the wastewater
Yeah.
treatment plant off of the tax, is my understanding.
What tax?
The tax that we've already passed.
And fees.
And the existing fees that are there,
No.
okay?
The bond issue we
No.
passed didn't have
Well,
this
then we
in
might
there.
have to look at skinnying things up a little bit.
It doesn't get any skinnier.
It always gets skinnier.
It doesn't. I'm telling you right now, it doesn't. The next item is your CMOM debt service, and I put a line right behind the Myers Engineering Report 2. This is directly out of your guys' budget, a statement of revenue and expenditures. The budgeted fund balance you guys have right up there, the $103,585. Kim, do you want to explain it, or do you want me to kind of go into it a little bit? All right. That's money that you guys have to transfer over there each and every year, in order just to cover your guys' debt service. And again, that's one of those items that should be coming out of the existing CMOM fees, but it's currently not, and something that we're going to have to start having to budget for in the upcoming fiscal year. So I want to make you guys aware of that. So we have a debt service right now of $100,000 too. We want to make sure that we cover in this sewer increase. Next is the wastewater treatment plant, and a majority, can come out of the sales tax we proposed, but depending on how we want to be flexible on how much sales tax is rolling in, our estimates are is that we can still have our debt service from our wastewater treatment plant covered at a ratio that can be discussed later on down the road, but there are monies that need to be coming out of there. And finally, the operation and maintenance of the wastewater treatment plant will go anywhere between the low estimate and the high estimate. More than likely, it's going to be somewhere around $300,000, but the skinniest I can make it is $175,000 a year, just based upon my knowledge and our engineers' knowledge of the number of SBR plants that we've put in over the years, is that they're high demand on electric through that process, and it increased quite a bit. Plus, we're going to need to start looking at the amount of manpower that we have out there in order to maintain and operate the wastewater treatment plant too. So if you add all those up, and those are just those 4 areas, and I'm not even talking about the other capital improvements we need on a year-to-year basis. Even though our low estimate is $1 million, and a high estimate could be $2.1 million. The sewer increase net revenues right now are just looking at $500,000 a year. So on to the point of us getting skinnier, we have to get skinnier because we can't even meet our minimum needs going forward on CMOM and the wastewater treatment plant.
So are you basing that on that 4 on the principal payment, the interest payment?
Yes.
What
Yeah.
are you basing it on? You're basing it on, what, the
Principal and interest.
$175,000 is for operations?
Yes.
Because I don't see where that says that that's for
No,
operations.
that's just my knowledge and our engineering knowledge because it's non-existent.
So so that operations, $175,000 a year to run?
Increase above our operations right now.
But increase above our operations on the wastewater treatment plant right now?
Yes.
How much is the wastewater treatment plant operations today?
You want to go give me a budget and I'll tell them
See,
exactly.
that's what I'm saying. I don't think that we've got enough information.
No,
I don't
but
think
that's
we're
just
looking at this
it.
deep.
No. The future operations isn't going to be out into the future. These are estimates.
I understand.
Yeah, but based upon my knowledge and the knowledge of our engineers, that's how much they're going to increase just on the type of processes that we're going to be doing. So even if I went and got that number for you right now, that number's not going to be in that book
Doesn't
either.
matter, because it's going to be over to $175,000 a year.
Correct. You got it.
So I have a question. If we raise rates, are we going to get to these minimums?
No, you're only going to get half to those minimums.
Half, okay.
It's 309,000 currently.
There you go.
So what's your thoughts on going the other half of the distance?
That's just it. That's my point, is that you guys, as the 7 individuals that are elected by the community and placed on as a trustee to the Guthrie Public Works Authority, have a chance tonight in order to have a fighting chance to go on in the future to start improving our infrastructure, both on our water and our wastewater in perpetuity, because you guys might be the last chance for that before we have to convince 5,000 voters on that.
Well, we also have a chance in 2 weeks from now to make that same decision.
Good possibility, but these numbers aren't going to change.
I understand.
Yeah.
But maybe our knowledge base will.
Sure. That's what I'm here to do, to answer questions for you guys.
And, so on top of that, how come this already, and I know you don't have an answer for it. Okay, maybe you do, Kim, I don't know, or some of the old council. How come this already hasn't been handled?
Because we've never had money.
I know we got the Patty Hayes, the whole deal.
We've never had
It
money.
doesn't make any difference. That's water under the bridge. That horse is gone. Brian,
Well, can I
making a
just
point, Steve.
Can I
Okay.
make a point? We've never had the money. I mean, this is a problem.
We went out, bought a plant.
we always
We voted all that, and everything, we did all this stuff, and we never had the money,
Hold on.
and we never had the money.
hold on. Can you let me answer?
Yeah.
Because in Oklahoma we hate taxes and we hate paying for anything and we want everything for free. It seems to me. I mean, we want citizens go out there. I'm sorry, I'm just gonna say it. Citizens go out there and they want their pothole, and their road fixed, but they don't want to pay for it. I mean, that is the problem we have in Oklahoma. So we're behind in infrastructure left and right in this state and in Guthrie because we don't want to pay for it, and we've kicked the can for councils upon councils upon councils. And, since I've been on here, we've done little things, but we got to keep doing little things to catch up because it costs money. Infrastructure's not free. So we have to pay for that stuff. That's why we have not done this, and that's why we're at where we're at. So,
I'm trying to make it real clear.
Yeah.
Okay?
Sure.
Well, when was the water treatment plant put in, John? 2009?
the water plant?
Yeah.
When was the water, it was,
2011.
11.
So what council voted that in? Yours, right?
Sure.
Okay. So there
Well,
go.
we actually didn't, because there was a lot of planning before that, but.
Okay. I just want to make sure that we're all aware on this decision that we're getting ready to make here, because we're gonna have to make one, Bruce, there's no question. Okay? It's a matter of whose shoulder we're making it on. Okay? The fact of the matter is, we're behind. This council didn't put us behind. Let's be real clear about that. The people sitting here collectively never did this. Okay, this is something that's been there, and it's been an albatross, and it's been an albatross for the last 7 years, 8 years.
But
We're talking about
more
wastewater
than that,
treatment
really.
plant, not water plant.
I think we have a responsibility, though.
We have a
To move from being a reactive council and a reactive city government to being proactive and doing things so that we're not having the state DEQ coming
Agreed.
down on us, that we can get ahead of these things and plan and do them in a more systematic manner.
Well-
Unfortunately, we've got a little bit of a hole to dig ourselves out of to get to that
Well,
point.
and Brian asked about, when was the water plant? Well, we're talking about this is all wastewater related. When was a wastewater plant put in? That's my question.
Yeah, that's a long.
When was
long
a wastewater treatment plant put in?
60 years old.
Yeah, it's about 60 years old. Yeah.
Guys, over the
About
last
60 years
over the
old.
last 10 months, all of us sitting across this table have had a discussion about growing Guthrie and making Guthrie the best place to come live, work, and play. And that's been every effort on the staffs. That's been every effort that I've ever had with any of you guys and seen your conversations, the way that you guys have voted over the last 10 months. And Brian, to your point, I don't disagree that a lot of things in the past, if they could have had a little bit more forethought and vision, may have made some different decisions knowing what we know today and putting it forward to here. But what I'm saying to you guys is this is kind of the last vestibule of that. This is hopefully going to be one of those last tough decisions that we have to make going forward together as a council in order to overcome some of the decisions that were made in our past, because this is the very thing that all of us have been discussing over the last 10 months, is that if you stay stagnant, your cost of living increases. It's just basic mathematics. If you're not growing in order to distribute the cost of doing business, the cost for each individual household goes up. And it keeps going up and it keeps going up. And that's why you guys have done such a good job of growing the community with what you guys have done concerning English Farms, what you guys done as a council in order to recruit in an additional 60 jobs. When I woke up this morning and read the paper of Chesapeake Energy that one of their subsidiaries is laying off 98. We are all moving forward, and this is what our recommendation as a staff, and hopefully we'll educate you guys enough to let you guys know this is kind of the last hurdle, and we don't want to have the inability not to have the slight increases we need going forward year after year in order to make even the most basic of improvements to our water and wastewater systems.
Well, let's talk about that then. Let's talk about the average Joe's increase. Let's talk about where they're at today and where they're going to be at tomorrow.
And that's, if you guys will go to the second to last page, Kim put together some information on there. Is that the last rate increase you guys had was in 2006, so that was 10 years ago. In the very top table, she'll show that if we went through and did increases across the board, both residential, commercial, all the different user groups that we have, you'll see at the very far right what those October 2018 rates would be, which was what we're proposing at the end of this current resolution. Right below that one, on the left-hand side, you'll see what those increases are, what's been proposed in the ordinance. And if you go down through there, you'll see those things. Some are lower, some are higher, but they're all kind of within that area. And if you guys turn back to the very first page, that's why we're only proposing the 500,000 instead of the 1 million or the 2 million, which would be even more of a proper way to do budgeting, because it's always been my opinion, you're very conservative with your revenues, then you can be liberal with what your expenditures. These expenditures, you know, we can either be conservative or liberal on them, but if you take it right down the middle, that'd probably be the best approach. But the reason we only stuck at half of what our needs are is because we don't want to burden that average utility user out there that may use 4,500 gallons a month. And especially the people who do not use the minimum balance of 2,000 gallons a month, which were a lot of people that are on fixed incomes. And that's why we minimize the increases on the base and put it more towards the actual users and the rates in that usage. So that's the answer to the question about who affects and why it affects and what our rationale is behind the increases.
So if I hear you right, currently, this is where I fall on that house that we bought, because we use 0. Somehow 64 gallons got used, that's neither here nor there. But the fact is, 5786 would be my bill. We're right in there in the 50 range, which you've heard me state before. Okay, so at the end of this deal here in 2018, it'll be 6915, right?
Correct.
Based on 2,000 or less. And that's with the increase of everything.
That's $12.
So you're looking at a
That's
$12
That's water,
increase.
sewer,
I
trash, that's
understand. So
everything.
you're looking at a $12 increase. And so what does that, what annualized, what does that give us? And then what does it give us over the term?
At the end of that 3 years, we're looking for 360,000.
Is that what that gives us? Based on, and we've done the real numbers on it, based on what we have today. We're not calculating any growth.
Correct.
We're not talking about English farms, no other growth or anything else, right?
No.
So what happens when that happens and we overreach and get over our estimated amount that we need?
Thank God, because we got more
We
needs.
generate more revenue.
Yeah,
That's more revenue,
Yeah.
right?
it'll get us
Yeah,
closer to
yeah,
where
revenue.
we need to be. Yeah.
also going to cost you.
Well, because you got to build too.
If you guys go back to the one page before that, I'll answer on this water. You guys don't have a comprehensive water plan. So I had to go out and determine what exactly those costs would be. You guys currently have 450,000 feet of water mains in place, and you guys have no plans right now to replace those whatsoever. Just based upon what the costs are today, in order to go out there and start replacing lines, they're about $100 a foot. That's not even taken into account. So you guys see that estimate, that's $35 to $40 million worth of lines that need to be replaced. That's not even counting the pressure areas that you guys have both on the south end of town and north end of town. You have a couple of different projects that need to take place in that, or it's probably going to be another couple million. And finally, you guys have dams that need to be replaced at our lakes, which is going to be somewhere in the neighborhood anywhere between $1 million to $4 million based upon which dam is actually in worse shape. So when I calculate that extra year of rate increase for water, which is going to bring in $118,000, that's 0.25% of our total needs. And we haven't even started touching that. We haven't even studied this yet. We haven't even come up with a game plan yet. And all we're asking for is $118,000 just to kind of sort of get started. So that's the water issues and needs.
So you're looking for $118,000. That's what we're going to generate by voting this thing in tonight, is $118,000.
Just on the water in year number 3.
So now we can ask our guys over here, what's that cost to am it out in your presentation?
But
Why aren't we looking at an entire?
you're asking about 0.25%.
Right.
of our total needs.
Yeah.
Hopefully, at some point in time, we'll have the discussion where we're talking about our complete needs. We're going to end up saving probably $137,000 a night. There we go. We're up to 0.5% of what our total needs are. But we can't depend upon that, going forward. And that's why we have to go back and address how we conduct business, what we're in business for in the first place, and finally, what rates are necessary in order just to meet the minimums going forward in those areas. And I always try to separate out each one of the individual utilities because they are each individual utilities. They're collected differently, they're distributed differently, they're treated differently. And at the end of the day, what I've always told every citizen and every council member that I've worked for, as much as it costs to get it to you, it costs just that much to take it away from you. And it's just a rule of thumb.
So as far as a Plan B, there is no Plan B at this juncture. I know that you don't have a Plan B on it, but there's no, what happens if we move this to GPWA and the courts come in and say that's not gonna happen?
I don't think.
What
that's
happens
gonna
then?
happen. I don't think that'll happen.
What, we don't think. What happens if that
Well,
happens?
I don't have a crystal ball to tell you what's gonna happen, and I can't predict what's gonna happen, but,
It's
that's
it's
one
an
of the
even
reason-
chance that that's what happens.
well,
this-
I don't think so. I think we're in a better situation if we get the Public Works resolution, those items out of the city's budget.
No, I understand, but
And I think that's imperative.
I understand.
What happens from that point, I don't know. Quite frankly, well, I'm not gonna say that.
You know, and a point was made earlier, is that we can change these rates. We can change these rates next month.
I understand, Steve. I'm wondering what the plan is in the event the courts come back and say,
Regardless of
Not
what the courts say or what they don't say, this is the only thing you guys control.
I understand.
Well,
You're not under any
But there
court
has to be
order.
another plan, is
Well,
all
you're
I'm
not under
saying.
any court order right now.
Right.
Not to do this. That was asked in one of the hearings that I've had, one of the multiple hearings I've had, was that judge was asked, don't let them do anything. Judge said, I'm not gonna do that. Now, I don't know where we're gonna be a week, 2 weeks, a month from now, but I do know where we are tonight. And that's why I'd like to see this approved.
Could I make a motion for you? You mind?
Make a motion.
I'd like to make a motion that we assign it to our rate and fee advisory, we approve it, but assign it to our rate and fee advisory committee to examine it and make a recommendation prior to implementing the increases.
I don't even know who is our rate and fee advisory committee.
I would request that you I'd leave that last part of your motion out, but go ahead and assign it. If your motion is to assign it to the water rate and fee advisory committee, just stop it at that point.
Who is that committee?
We have a committee, that's their,
Who's on it?
that's, chairman is Bob Davis.
Because you can do whatever you want to do, anytime you want to do it. But I think.
So you're saying-
If you're wanting to assign it to the rate and fee, then go ahead and approve the resolution tonight and the ordinance tonight.
And then assign it separately.
And, well, they're on separate agendas. But if you're going, I'm sorry, I got a bad habit of leaning back, sorry. Approve the resolution as is, and then have the rate and fee advisory committee review it and make recommendations to you as to whether they think you ought to change what you've done tonight.
So amended my motion.
Okay?
second,
Motion with the amendment.
second.
Any further discussion?
I would rather talk more about the rates and fees at a different time, well, giving it to
It'll come
them,
back to you guys.
but passing that through tonight,
Yeah.
I don't see, I have no problem of moving the authority to the GPWA, and if we can do that and then come back and revisit the rate and fee and not change that.
These things don't go into immediately, so you guys have plenty of time to come back and address that.
There's time in there.
Yeah.
There's time in it before it becomes effective.
And the rate and fee would do more staffing with it, gather their, more information, give us their recommendation. It's going to come back here.
ultimately, it all comes back to you.
Yeah.
And you generally are gonna follow the rate and fee, but they're like the planning commission, they recommend. You're the one that has to make the call.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the rate and fee increase and to have the rate and fee committee, is it, or council? Anyway, review the proposed increases.
What's to approve the resolution and have them look at it and get back with us.
And
The
come back
motion
to it.
is to approve the resolution as presented and have the rate and fee committee then look at the entire structure and make a recommendation to you. But what you have in front of you is what will be enacted tonight. And I think that's the safest way for Public Works to go through this process.
Cut through it.
Any further discussion? Submit your votes, please.
All votes are in.
Let's read the votes. By a 5-2 vote, it is approved to approve these rate fees, submit it to our rate and fee committee, and ask for their input back to us. Item number 6. Consideration take action in respect to resolution 2016-4, authorizing the Guthrie Public Works Authority to issue a utility systems and sales tax revenue note series, note. You gentlemen are on.
Make it short, John.
You have 3 minutes, John.
Do we need a prayer for this or not?
No.
Your prayer was too long.
Good evening, trustees, chairman. Prayers aren't always answered the same day you ask. You may get your prayers answered tonight with me. I'll make it short and sweet.
Okay.
You have a fairly lengthy report packet being passed out. Summaries on the first page. We can go in depth at your pleasure, but to refresh everyone's memory that we came to you a couple weeks ago, a little longer than that, addressing the fact that you had the option via a letter from the Water Resources Board to take advantage of current interest rate market. The board had, in their letter in summary, provided that if they were to refund their bonds that funded your loan, among other cities' loans and other water districts, that you could save X dollars, but you'd only get 30% of those savings. We came before you, and at that point in time, we had talked to a couple different banks, trying to get some indicative rates of where rates were at the time if you were to go out and seek your own financing. At that time, we gave you a 2.3% interest rate. That was a rate that was given to us as a potential target. That rate was actually obtained almost 3 or so weeks ago. Market ticked up a little bit, but we did receive two banks' bids. And when I say bids, they bid different actual options as far as prepayment on the debt, the new debt that was being proposed or that's being discussed tonight. You received two banks, J.P. Morgan Chase and Branch Banking and Trust. Branch Banking and Trust is out of North Carolina. They already have, I believe, 3 transactions where they're the lender for the city of Guthrie, or for the Guthrie PWA more specifically. And the J.P. Morgan Chase bid actually addressed a couple of different prepayment options, as I mentioned before, but they bid a non-prepayment interest rate of a 2.42%. That would be a fixed rate for the period of time through October 1 of 2030. That's almost 14 and a half years. Your interest rate would drop from a 451 to a 242. It would basically drop it at 200 basis points. Bruce had mentioned earlier, he had asked me, what are we talking about At 200 and, or at a 2.3%, we thought we'd be around 145,000 in savings. Based on a 242, we're about $141,000 a year in savings. So over the period of time of the little less than 14 and a half years, that would save you in actual debt service $2 million. So at the 2.42% fixed rate, non-prepayable, that's your best bid that you received as far as lowest interest rate. Chase also bid a couple of prepayment options to where you could prepay after so many years in case you wanted to reach in and pay off the loan. This is the loan that we're looking at, $16,955,000. If you get to October 2021 on a 5-year prepayment, you're still going to have over 12 or 13 million outstanding. We believe at a 242, the chances of rates dropping a lot lower than that interest rate level, knowing that we've been at a very low interest rate market, may be somewhat remote that the rate gets much lower than a 242. Obviously, you can get halfway through between now and October of 2030. You're going to have a lot less term left on the loan. You get a reflective lower interest rate, but we're at U.S. historical lows. So the hedging, my recommendation is you lock a rate in now and it's fixed, and you walk away and you address other issues that you have in front of you, such as the previous agenda item. So the BB&T quote was a 2.52%. Now they had a different prepayment option where they could prepay in whole, that you can prepay in whole at any time with a 1% premium. That's 1% of the loan outstanding at that point in time. That's a pretty hefty premium that you would have to pay on $16,955,000. You're talking about $169,000. You could prepay halfway through, basically, the loan period at no penalty, no premium, but that rate once again is 2.52. You would have to select one of those options. Once again, though, JP Morgan Chase is the lower interest rate at a 2.42%. So if you come down to the middle of the cover sheet and you look at what's the aggregate difference between the low interest rate quoted by JP Morgan Chase versus BB&T, the interest rate is about $134,000 between, that's the interest at the amount of interest, additional interest that you would pay if you went with the BB&T rate at a 252. The savings to come back to looking at, this is a combination loan. It's $3 million new money for projects. It's paying off your 2008 and 9 drinking water SRF notes. The savings level that we had discussed with you 3 weeks plus back, we were looking at gross savings of about $2.12 million. Based on what you have in hand in front of you tonight, the savings level is at basically $2 million. And that's reflective of or that translates into a present value of about $1.7 million if you discount all of those savings over 14 years back to today's dollars, which is about 12.52%. And as I mentioned at the last meeting, typically in our industry, when you look at refinancing, tax exempt obligations, if you can be somewhere between 3 and 5, that's typically when you pull the trigger and look at refunding. You're 4 times that. So this is an opportunity that, big picture, you're saving $140,000 a year for a little over 14 years. $2 million certainly would go towards helping out in a lot of areas for the PWA. Be glad to answer any questions you have.
Well, I don't know that we can, did the state already decide that they're going to go ahead and go out and refinance all this debt?
The state is actually still pursuing to do the refinancing. We have provided to you at the last meeting that you're only going to get 30% of the savings that they would actually incur as part of their refinancing. I think I showed you a number at the last meeting, but I actually projected what their savings might be running our version of the refinancing of their bonds. And they had a little more fluff in their numbers. In essence, They thought the rates would be a little higher on the refinance side. So in essence, their actual savings that they would have as it applies to Guthrie would be 30% approximately of the number you see tonight.
No, what I meant is that if we approve this, can we move forward with the refinance? Or
Yes,
has the
yes.
state, so the state's already made the decision, they're doing it 100%?
The state has asked, the Water Resources Board has asked each entity by May the 12th
Right,
to check whether or not you want to prepay or pay off your loan.
right.
That's what you're doing tonight. If you accept the refinancing, you check the box and say, we want to pay off our loan. And
I thought you said last time that the state could still come back in by that date and say, well, forget it, we're not refinancing this, so that's all for naught.
as far as where rates are, the rates haven't increased to where they're at.
John, what the date that the OWRB has set for us to pay our interest to, what date is that now? Because I know we were talking about,
It's through July 12th. The last time we were in front of you, we
That's
were
it.
guessing July 15th.
So that's it, so
Yeah.
they still have till July 12th to decide if they're gonna.
no, that's just what our payment is going to be, but once we turn our stuff in,
That's when it.
We're done.
yeah.
You all approve this tonight, we're gonna close the loan, we're gonna send them the money, whether they do their refinancing or not, at this point, they've said, we'll take the money.
Okay, because the last question I have on the last one
Well,
was if they decided not to, then we.
I'm sorry, I misunderstood your
Ignore.
question. A lot's transpired since we met last time.
Right.
So we addressed with the water board, we're going to have some communities that are going to pay off their loans.
Okay, regardless of what the state does.
Right.
Okay.
My,
Yeah, they've given us that option, and we'll be taking
my
that on.
understanding is you're recommending we take the JP Morgan Chase
Bid.
2.42% bid and move forward with that.
Yes.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to move ahead with the resolution and utilizing the JP Morgan Chase option. Is there any other discussion? Saving $2 million seems like a pretty good deal. Submit your votes, though.
We did.
All votes are in.
See the votes. Unanimous to go ahead and approve that resolution authorizing the Public Works Authority to issue the revenue notes with JP Morgan. John, thank you. And thanks, and good timeliness.
Stick around, we got one more.
Oh. Okay, item number, oh wait,
Still on
that's it.
TWA?
Ready for adjournment.
That is, item number 7 is adjournment. Ladies and gentlemen, we are adjourned from the Public Works Authority. Our city council meeting of May 3rd, I call to order. We have consent agenda items A through C. A is approval of our meeting in April 19th. B is the approval of the minutes of the Guthrie Fire Pension Board. And C is the approval to deny a claim, a tort claim, as recommended by the Oklahoma Municipal Assurance. I believe Mr. Fleury had you have a comment that you would like to make about the tort claim before we...
We need to pull that from the consent agenda if he's going to do that. Just do
Well,
it
Call it
separate.
for separate vote.
We'll pull that. We're gonna, okay. Let me stricken item number C from the consent agenda. Consent agenda items A through B.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Submit your votes, please.
All votes are in.
Let's see the votes. Unanimous approval of consent agenda items A and B. I will take under advisement then agenda item number 2A, which is going to be
2C.
the
2C.
I'm sorry, 2C, which is the tort claim. And Mr. Fleury, you wanted to make you made a statement here that you want to make comment on that. Would you please go to the mic, identify yourself, and give us your comments.
Hello, I'm Jeff Fleury. I'm a resident of Guthrie. I'm out of the city limits. We had an issue, one of my renters apparently did some bad things, and they had to, I'm not sure terminology-wise, but I guess it was a no-knock warrant, and they come in and they had to enter the house, and they busted the door and framing and everything all up to go inside. We were called, I believe, by Officer Pugh and Officer Gibbs, and told us that, kind of informed us of what was going on, because we were actually out of town that day, and told us we needed to come to the city and file a tort claim for some of the damages that were done. There was some damage in the yard, but we were able to fix that. I just wasn't able to do the door and the frame and all that. So we submitted the claim and was denied from OMAG. So I called Brad Doublehead and talked to him, and he just said that, the task force wasn't the city's responsibility for whatever reason. So I needed to get a police report, which I did obtain, and I have copies, which I'm sure you guys have. So I went down. They didn't have it. Had to go to the county. County told me about it. County said that it was a city case number, that they had the incident. So I came back over. I asked the county if I could get a tort claim from them. They said, no, that's not ours. And so I came back over, got the police report, called OMAG back and talked to Brad yesterday. And he just told me that, his denial based on his opinion was not the city's fault, that he was waiting on he wanted a contract that was drawn up between I don't know if it's the city of Guthrie or the police department, between the Oklahoma County and or Logan County and the task force.
No, that's.
Because he just said that it was actually a Crescent officer on the task force that actually struck the door. And he said, also told me that, if you file a tort claim with Crescent, I'm going to deny that also. So, I mean, where does this go?
So which cop, I'm sorry,
Go ahead.
Who kicked the door in?
Somebody on the task force. They won't give me that information.
It was a warrant from the city of Guthrie, though,
Was
right?
it a warrant with the city of Guthrie?
Yes.
No. Well, I don't know this. I haven't seen this, but it would be very unusual for the city of Guthrie Municipal Court to issue a warrant to kick down a
Outside the
door.
city limits.
And it would not happen. Was this house in or outside the city limits?
Okay, it was outside the city limits, but it was in junction with the robbery south of town, and
Well,
that's what.
there are about 5 reasons why this should be denied, and OMAG did their job. They're who we hire to evaluate these. And I appreciate the problem with your door, but I think the law is, even if this was in Guthrie and our police officer that kicked in the door on a no-knock warrant, the city would still have no liability. And this is far outside of that fact situation.
So why would the two police officers call me directly and tell me to come up and file a tort claim?
I have no idea. They are not the city's legal representative, and
Good question.
if they said that, I have no idea why they would say that. But
So I'm just kind of out in the wind, nothing.
you better pick your tenant better next time.
My fault.
I'm sorry, I hate to be the
Well, I
bad
actually don't
news.
agree with that, Randall. He can't control that.
Oh, I understand. I've owned a bunch
First
of
off,
rental,
the guy was
I've had
already in
bad
jail.
tenants.
I mean, they didn't even need to do it. They
Was
were
it
already in jail.
Is it related to a deposit, though? I mean,
No.
Did the tenant got arrested over the deal, right?
He was already in custody. They were looking for the second suspect, which ended up already being in custody in Oklahoma County, I believe, from the
If he's got one.
report that I've seen.
So no getting money out of them.
No, not for about life.
But did they have a rental deposit? Did they put a deposit down?
Yeah, but
So
the
you-
door,
so you
the
have
door
that-
was,
you
I
have
mean,
that-
not your problem, but the door was $589. I probably currently got about $3,500 that I'm fixing it to rent again, which that's my problem, but, what's a tort claim for then if it's not for this?
Well, the law does not allow it. Even if the city did something wrong, the law does not allow you to directly sue the city until you file a tort claim and go through that process. It's something that's established by the legislature. If it's denied, you have a certain amount of time in which, if you think it was denied wrongly, to file a lawsuit.
So, yeah, and that's what I've been advised, is to sue the city. I don't want to sue the city. I've been here 43 years. That's not my intentions. I just
Well,
don't
and
understand why nobody, I just keep getting the runaround. Nobody can tell me anything. It's just.
Well, you
no.
might want to talk to a private attorney about it, but I do believe that the law of Oklahoma is, even if this was in Guthrie and a valid warrant and was executed by Guthrie police officers and they kicked the door in on a no-knock warrant, there is still no liability under Oklahoma law for the city. I believe that's the state of the law. Chief's nodding his head back there. Been a long time since I've looked this up.
That is, chief, that's the way it goes.
Does the liability really go back to the tenant?
Yes.
There you have it.
Seems
The
like a
per,
waste
the,
of-
the person renting should be paying for this. I mean, that's the point, right?
Well, they're probably in jail like so many, and they don't have any money, and they probably stiff you on rent too, I would
I actually
imagine.
never paid up on rent.
Well, you're lucky. None of my bad tenants ever paid the rent. They tore it up and didn't pay the rent too. So.
Yeah, so,
So how much is your rent deposit?
$800.
So you will be retaining the $800?
Actually, currently on those, on them, it was, $650. I've had to increase that, obviously. So it's now $800.
Because you got $3,500 worth of repair.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
But the door was $580 or something like that?
Yeah, 589.34.
Yeah. So you do have some recourse there.
Yeah, yeah, sure. I just didn't understand why they instructed me to go this route, and then, why would they have instructed to go this route and then it be a nowhere? I mean, this is.
Go ahead, Chief.
Honestly, I've wasted more time than the 589.34 dealing
I can
with
give
it.
you some explanation.
Okay,
I mean, the only thing is like Randall said, the officers are not the city's legal counsel, and their standard answer is someone.
Don, go up to the mic.
Yeah, go to the mic.
I'm standing right here.
That's what the clearing of the voice was.
The officers are not the city's legal counsel, and their standard instruction when someone has been aggrieved, when damage has been done, their standard response is go see the city and file a tort claim, because time is always running, and usually we're talking a year, and your time will run out. So we beat into their head, basically, look, don't drag your feet, don't give anybody a runaround, send them to the city so they can get their rights preserved and start the process, because we don't want any perception that anyone's rights are being denied. So get their rear up there, get the paperwork started. That way, the city can be involved, OMAG can be involved, and everything starts rolling. And that's, they don't get this deep into.
oh, he told me he was gonna deny any tort claim, so I don't know.
Well,
Why have it? You know, my point.
dealing with insurance and lawyers, no
Yeah.
offense, no offense. I mean, so, that's why they did not do it for any wrong. They did it because that's how they've been taught.
Yeah.
So moved?
So, Mr. Fleury, anything else that you have to share with us?
No,
Okay, all right. Thank you for your comments.
thank you.
So we have item 2C, the consideration to approve the denial of the tort claim that we just
So moved.
discussed. There's a motion to have a second.
I hate to, but I understand.
Any further discussion? Submit your vote, please.
All votes are in?
See the votes? Unanimous approval to deny the tort claim. Item number 3, discussion possible action to approve the revised agreement with YMCA for management of the swimming pool. Staff?
I know you guys had questions at our last meeting concerning weekends and some holidays. Maxine, I know Kristen's here also. Can you guys fill us in on the discussions you gotta have and see if any changes have been made to the contract?
The discussion we had, come on up, Kristen, was to see if we could add those 2 holidays. And in that discussion, we found out that they did not have that money in the budget to pay for holiday pay for the lifeguards. So we added that in, for the city to possibly pay that if you all so chose. That would be about $600 additional to the $5,000 that we have. So we put that in. If you want those days open, they will be open 4 hours those 2 days, which is the Monday of the observant of Memorial Day and the 4th of July.
It's not even worth it, 4 hours a day. It's just not.
That poor little kid that you're denying access to the swimming pool.
You have to use a hose. That's what we had to do.
I think that,
So
we weren't aware of this last year.
We figure we can get it in there next year when we start, because they'll be able to plan their budget and include that in.
Okay.
But they will be open the weekends. It'll just be those 2 days unless the city picks up the cost.
Yeah, we weren't aware of that last year, then that came up as an issue. I think last year is why that became an issue here. We found out it was closed on those 2 days and should have been open, we thought.
It's really just an HR matter for the YMCA. If they do bring people in there, they're under the provisions of the YMCA, personnel and policy procedures. Come in on holiday, receive holiday pay, which is time and a half. So that was the crux of the matter that was
We got the money to
unbeknownst to
pay
you
for it?
guys. What's that?
Do we have the money to pay for that?
Yes, $600 for the children.
Rate increase.
Yeah, just add it.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion and a second to approve that change, that
The whole
revision.
contract. We haven't approved the contract yet.
It's a whole
Oh,
new
yeah.
contract. It's a revised contract.
Contract with the revision
Yes.
to include those 2 holidays.
Yes.
So moved.
Second.
Any other discussion? Submit your vote, please.
All votes are in.
Let's see the votes. Unanimous to approve that contract with the inclusion of the 2 holidays as noted. Item number 4, discussion possible action to adopt ordinance 3288.
So
I'd
moved.
like to discuss that in some detail.
So moved.
Same motion as before, please.
Same motion as before.
Second.
So the motion is,
To
To
approve the
adopt-
ordinance and have the rate and fee advisory committee look at it?
Actually, we don't need the rate and fee on this one. You guys just need to approve the ordinance.
Nothing changed on
Yeah,
this.
you guys are actually eliminating.
Okay,
All this does take GPWA
It
out
just,
of it.
this is actually the one that takes that moves everything to GCWA, and I don't have a problem with moving.
This actually moves the rate structure to it as well.
Yes.
Yes.
so moved.
Okay,
I'll second it again.
okay, it's been moved and seconded.
Let me make this two.
Any further discussion? Submit your vote, please.
All votes are in.
See the votes. By a 6-1 vote, it's been approved to adopt that ordinance. Item number 5, consideration take action with respect to resolution.
Same motion as before, JP Morgan takes
2016-5.
2.42%.
Second.
Okay. We have a motion and a second to approve that. Is there any discussion? Submit your votes.
All votes are in.
See the votes. Unanimous to approve that resolution and with the financing through Chase. Item number 6 is really something that is to be delayed. We voted last council to delay that nomination. There is, I would like to point out that Mr. Kerr had previously been approved.
How come it's on the agenda if we're delaying? I
Staff
thought,
was-
I thought all we were delaying was putting their names on there.
No,
We were delaying until we looked at the committee structure.
Right.
The committee organization.
Which is gonna be a workshop, right? We're
A
supposed to do
workshop or
It is a
retreat.
workshop item.
Workshop
Will be
or
a workshop
retreat.
item.
But we're not adding to that board or commission.
No,
But we're talking about the
no.
structure.
But we had previously approved Mr. Kerr.
Yeah.
So what is the
Council.
prerequisite on, who can, just out of curiosity, on this particular nomination to HP, what is the prerequisite for that particular opening today?
That they be landowners in the historic district.
Okay,
There were two positions on the board that requirement is that they are landowners in the historical district, but that they do not have to be citizens of Guthrie.
okay. So are both of those landowners in the city of Guthrie, in the historical district?
Yes.
They both are?
Yes.
In the
Really?
Yeah.
Capital Town Site Historic District,
You sure about that?
that would be where the landowner would be.
Was it Sarah Mathis? Is that what we're calling?
In other
Yeah, they
words,
would have to be within the historical district,
That they own land
In the
within,
historical
not necessarily residents, but they own
in
land,
the historical.
land or building, they have to own a building.
Land or
yeah.
property.
property. Yeah,
In-
could
in-
be,
In the historical district.
right.
So they both do, you're saying?
It wouldn't have got passed to us if they did not.
Really?
But the point is that we did.
The point is that the position is for a landowner within the historical district,
Correct.
okay? And I don't think both of them are.
Well,
that
that's to
are
be-
on the agenda.
But he said that we're not going to discuss and vote on this tonight because we had said we're going to discuss it in a workshop or retreat, and we haven't done that yet.
Correct.
So it's prematurely on the agenda and needs to be taken off. That's what you're saying, so.
I said.
So we don't need to discuss it, move on to item 7. That's what I would say.
So you're gonna
Well, we already
change,
did that.
so you're proposing in a workshop to change the structure of who, what, when can be on this HP?
No. No.
And what are you,
The-
what are you,
the-
what are you
the-
planning to gain?
What was being, the reason for the nomination to be tabled was so that the council could review all of the committee structures,
Exactly.
and
That's not how the motion read.
Further discussion is what it said.
Only on this one is what that motion was, wasn't it, Kim? It was not on all of them. I've been the biggest proponent of reviewing all of them.
Yes.
okay?
Okay, but that's not how they motioned it. They motioned it only on this one.
Well, I'm not so sure that was the case.
Kim, was that the case? Yes, that was the case.
The actual case was I made 2 motions at once. I never modified them, and I was overridden, and you made one motion out of it, and then trampled the second one with another motion, and mine laid dead on the floor.
Tell me what the reason for what's the reason for the discussion? I'm not, I'm missing the point
The
here.
discussion is to look at
Well,
who
the
can
discussion
be on
is
these.
that if we're gonna, I'm all about a motion to discuss all of the boards in workshop.
Then let's get on with it.
That was already done.
But that was not done, according to Kim.
Well,
Well, I
That's
think,
been discussed in the past.
It has been discussed in the past.
We can go
but
back
That's
and-
not what the last motion was.
It was. I think the mayor is
So we can, what you're saying is in the workshop, we will discuss them all. That's what you're saying.
Yes.
that's what I believe the motion, that's,
was-
yes.
that's what
To answer your question, yes.
can I clarify something? We're talking about workshop, but we're gonna have the retreat coming up this month. Can we, it seems like it'd be more appropriate. at work-
Workshop or
at the-
retreat.
at the
Either way.
retreat. Let's do
Either
the
way.
retreat, if we could.
Either way, whichever happens soonest,
Because I know I won't be there next meeting,
Yeah.
so I would like. to do
whichever
that.
happens soonest, okay?
I never withdrew my motion.
All right. Okay, so that item number 6, I just wanted to clarify that Mr. Kerr had previously been approved as a member of the Historic Preservation Commission, so his name should not have been on there. And in fact, this item should not have been on the agenda because of the motion that was made to table and review the commission's
Technically, you should
information.
only have one name on the agenda as to who you are actually nominating.
No, that's not how I understood your motion, which was all the names, so
No,
that the
no, my
public,
motion was
so that the
my-
public could
my
have
point was-
input into,
Who you are nominating, which is, it's still not clear who you're nominating. It didn't say the mayor is nominating Sarah Mathis or Carol Herzl. You put all the names on there. We still don't know by reading the agenda who you are nominating. We wouldn't know that until you sat here and told us, and it's still wrong.
It would
You
be
need
nice to have
say
like
who
an
it is.
asterisk by it or something,
Yes,
like,
we need to say who you're nominating.
asterisk.
yeah, a little asterisk, this person's the
actual-
one that's gonna be nominated.
Okay,
It'd be helpful.
we'll work on the asterisks. Okay,
So do we have to table it, or?
yes, it's tabled.
Okay.
It is tabled.
Do we have to move to table?
Be best to move the table.
Okay, I move that we table this.
Second.
Again.
Again. Any other discussion?
So we're
Submit your
tabling a
vote.
Fake item.
Yeah.
Submit your vote. See the votes. Unanimous to table yet again.
We'll make sure and have it on there next week.
Number 7, city manager report.
No report.
Number 8. Number 8, council report. Mr. Thomas.
I don't have a lot to say. I would say that if anybody's made any observations tonight, the need for workshops is very rampant, because we could have discussed a lot of these things tonight in a workshop and saved a lot of time here tonight. But we need to bring those workshops back. I've said that over and over and over, and I want them back.
Councilman Guthrie.
Yeah, I don't have a whole lot other than regardless if it's a workshop or here, I mean, it's gonna get talked publicly, but I would rather, I tend to agree to somewhat. I don't think we need workshops every council, but I think that we need to gather as a committee, on issues like, we're presented with tonight. For sure. Prior to council.
Councilman John Wood.
I guess just kind of based on what they're saying, I agree that we don't need workshops all the time, but when you have a kind of like a really complicated topic like we had tonight, it would be good to have some discussion as to what we're doing and what the point of it is, just to get everybody on the same page.
Yeah, because we put it to a rate and fee committee, and I have no idea who makes up that, what the makeup of that committee is. Zero. Do you, Ed?
We'll inform you.
Do you, Steve?
I know some of the membership, yes.
Okay.
I don't know that knowing the membership is should be a part of that decision, but.
Yeah.
Well,
But I think we do need to discuss this in a roundtable instead of sitting here on the board.
Yeah.
Discuss what?
I wasn't talking to you.
Okay.
I'm sorry. Steve had me
I'm through.
Okay.
short-circuiting.
Up to me?
Yes, Councilman.
Yes, pretty much what everybody else is saying, we need to discuss this more in a roundtable. When we're dealing with monies that the community will be paying out, we need to come with a rate and fee. We need to come before the council and sit here with already some knowledge of what is there besides just seeing it for the first time before we sit here. It just would be a lot quicker. I think would make for a lot more understanding of what we are doing and why we would do it. So anyway, that's.
Councilman Taylor.
I'll second what they're all saying, and also want to say thanks for the turnout for the 89er celebration. Looked like between 40 and 50,000 people came in, so it turned out to be a great deal.
Beautiful day.
Councilwoman Paget.
Thank you. I agree with what's been said so far. I think it leads to a much more cohesive council if we know what we're doing ahead of time.
She would never be.
We had I don't know if everybody is aware, but the city did receive a $37,000 grant from the Tobacco Trust Settlement Authority, and are using that to enhance the swimming pool, make some repairs on the swimming pool. And also want to mention our first installment of Red Brick Nights coming up Saturday. Basically, the block party reinstated, and so opportunity for all of us to come and enjoy some good food, some good entertainment, and lots of camaraderie. With that, ladies.
Times for that?
The
5
food
o'clock,
trucks
starting
start, John, the food trucks are there at 5.
Yep.
The music starts at 7.
Okay.
Your dancing is at 7:30. We are adjourned.